the reality is that all the political opposition and all the shouting and all the noise is not focused on what is happening. It's focused on what they're scared of, what is happening. But they're not focused on what is happening. And as long as Trump keeps it legal, as long as he obeys the courts, as long as he goes through the machinations of the court, and as long as Elon keeps exposing these expenditures, so much the better. Now, I will say that, it's really difficult to walk a fine line when you run such a huge number of huge companies, and you're looking at a defense expenditure. They spend a lot of money with his company. So it's tough for him, but, I have to say, so far it's been great. But look, the urgency of the problem is so great, and the problem is so serious for the country, that I wouldn't want to be a Democrat, and I wouldn't want to be railing against Elon for this issue. I would want to focus on this issue and try and solve the problem.
Yeah, I would hitch my wagon to it and be like, how can we do this for everything? Like how about this? I'll help you find the Republican garbage, and the Republicans will help find the Democrat garbage. And then let's just make a handshake deal. We get rid of 80% of the line items. And we have to sort of from biggest to smallest. That's the deal. Let's just make a handshake deal and go forward. That's not going to happen. Or maybe it's happening behind the scenes and everything we're seeing is posturing, but I doubt it.
It's not going to happen, unfortunately.
And that's a terrible strategy for them, honestly, if they don't do that. It really is a terrible strategy. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I think this is going to be a moment of like a decade of the Democratic Party repositioning itself and reasserting itself. I don't know how it gets out of the box that it's put itself in. Anyway, I don't want to talk about politics. I really want to just say that the deficit is so serious now, and the path we're on is so destructive to our lifestyle, to our country, to our security, to our future, that this just has to be done, and we just have to do whatever we need to do to make it happen. And I think that's where Trump's mind is.
Yeah, let's go for it.
I would just add to that, I think that some of the former Democrats who would really align with this desire to go after areas of corruption in the government or areas where we're wasting money or doing things that hurt the country and hurt the future have already, as I said, former Democrats, they've already left the party and they have now joined the coalition with Trump. So your RFK Juniors, your Tulsi Gabbards, that these type of people who saw these same types of problems within their own domains and decided that they had to do something about it, they are doing it. They're just not doing it with inside the party because the party disallowed them from addressing these issues.
But what becomes really important is to see elements of the Democratic Party start working with the Republicans to rebuild a more sustainable government structure. And I haven't seen that. I haven't even seen the Republicans rethink the whole structure of how money is allocated and how money is spent, and how many laws they create and how to retire the laws that they have created. These are so you talked about first principles, Hans. These are the first principles of the problem. The first principle of the problem is that laws are created that sustain forever, and so we build this gigantic, infrastructure of laws. Secondly, money that Congress allocates, which has gone through a very, very terrible process, has reached a terrible situation, and it just seems that this freight train can't be stopped. So those are the first principles of the problem. Now, I haven't seen anybody tackle them yet. And to me, that's going to be the root problem that has to be tackled when all of this is over.
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing is a snowball of strangulation at the national level. And we have to deal with it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, Hans.
That was it. Yeah, I'm just saying we have to deal with it.
So, you know what's another first principles problem too that's adjacent to that? Our media has been absolutely awful at covering this bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, so whatever happened to the checks and balances for the public to actually understand what is happening at our government? Why is a psycho on X exposing all this? Why hasn't the mainstream media done this for the last 10 years? Could it be because part of their funding comes from that same government? Could that be?
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
You know?
I mean, we've got this corruption that has become circular now. And the amount of money that flows from the government into the media, and then, the media supports those people supporting them. And how do you break that cycle? And the cycle has been broken by this new media, by the Farzad channel. You're doing it all by yourself, Farzad. I mean,
what's up?
Nobody. Well, you and another 1,000 or 10,000 other influencers, but these are the important people right now, because instead of this circular bull that they keep talking, and instead of governing by slogan, and legislating by slogan, and which led to this whole woke movement ultimately. I mean, that wasn't the ultimate reason, but I mean, that's been going on for some time. But allowing this slogan, government by slogan, to perpetuate itself, that's the problem.
Where the slogans are literally the exact opposite of what they're doing. Just by the way.
Yeah. And honestly, like a lot of, I sniffed this out when I was following the Yang presidency. I was completely oblivious to it back when he was running for the 2020 election back in 2019. I think it was during his thing where he made this commentary. He's like, because he was an outsider coming in. He's like, in front of the camera, you have the reporters and the politicians trying to be, trying to put on a show. But behind the scenes, they're going to cocktail parties together. They're having dinner together. They're flying together. They're chumming up to each other. Okay. On what planet are you going to be able to hold the government accountable and ensure that they're actually aligned with the will of the people when the apparatus that's supposed to bring forth the information for the public to make that decision is literally in the pockets of that same exact thing, right? And so by definition, the only way to disrupt that is by bringing an outsider force in. You have to bring forces outside of that establishment to come and just bulldoze. Like, this can't be like, and this is what I've been trying to think through, because one of the biggest points of criticism that I've heard is like the way DOGE is approaching this is not correct because they're bull in a china shop. This is bad. Like, you're making too many mistakes. You're going too fast. You're disrespecting a lot of federal employees when you do this. This is just not acceptable. I'm like, okay, help me understand how there's any other solution than that when all the interests are so unbelievably entrenched with each other. How else do you do that?
Yeah, and Mr. Lyon, I mean, you only have to look at California to see what the ultimate outcome of this is.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody in their right mind would rate California's government as a good government. I mean, I don't know anybody, even left-wing Democrats have begun to acknowledge what the problem is in California. And there, you've got an extreme left-wing government, a government that would never be, you have a government that's so extreme left-wing that the people voting for them in California don't even understand how left-wing the government is. I mean, the mayor of Los Angeles, she was, if you look at her history, you just can't believe what you're reading. I mean, this woman was an outright blatant communist. Why would you put that person in charge of a city like Los Angeles? Why?
Yeah.
The only reason is that she's put up by the machine And once she's put up by the machine, then everybody, votes for her accordingly. And, we don't want to become California. We don't want to become so mismanaged. But if you look at what FEMA has done in the last crises, you have to say we've already become California in some of these departments.
Yeah. The machine will promote one of their own. I mean, that's what it comes down to. If you're part of the machine and you're nice to the machine will be nice to you. And if you're mean to the machine will try to crush you. Now the problem is that you have enough outsiders that are not just as big as the machine, but they know how to play the game better than the machine, and they understand how to actually attack the problem so that they're able to get in there and gain power and actually try.
I was just going to say, but if you did not have an iconoclast like Trump,
I don't think
would this have happened?
No, I don't think so.
And that's why it hasn't happened in California.
Yeah.
We haven't seen somebody of this caliber in terms of political skill. I mean, I still have a lot of reservations about Donald Trump. I have to tell you,
he's
just
far
have a
from
lot
perfect. Yeah.
He's not perfect, but man, have I learned to admire him. I mean, as he's become so presidential. Isn't it amazing? He definitely was not presidential in his first term.
Yeah.
But he's become so presidential, almost avuncular presence. I mean, I was watching him yesterday while, Elon was trying to answer questions and grappling with X. And, it was a situation I was thinking, the old Trump would have thrown him out.
Yeah. Can I tell you a very interesting comment that I heard yesterday? My mom, who was the most ardent hater of Trump of all time. I mean, Larry, I'm telling you right now, there's not a person on this planet that probably hated Trump more than my mom did. You know what she said yesterday? Because she was, she watches the content on the channel. She's a huge fan. She's my number one fan. She likes and subscribes just like everybody else watching this, right? Look at this, I'm a professional YouTuber. And she she watches some of the stuff that I put on there. We did an edit of the Elon thing with Trump. And she's like, just out of the blue, man, Trump has changed. I'm like, whoa, what? Excuse me? That's coming from you? That I was like, whoa, that took me by surprise. Also, some of the commentary around Biden before, anyway, she was a libertarian. Anyway, we'll set that aside. So, but she has been definitely in the camp of this is a completely and total untrustworthy individual because he's completely evil. He's completely evil. And now I wonder, like, as I think about this DOGE stuff that's coming through, I wonder how quickly a lot of that's going to unwind as DOGE executes. Because we have the remnants of the illogical criticism of Trump and Elon. There's a lot of illogical criticisms. There's a lot of logical criticisms. Like, hey, Elon has a lot of businesses. Should he really be looking at defense contracts? Should he really be looking at even media contracts? Because he has a social media company. Isn't that a conflict of interest? Like, there are legitimate things to talk about. I don't know what the right answer is, but let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about what are the things he definitely can or can't do and how the executive branch should approach it, right? But there's also a vast amount of criticism is illogical. It's not it just comes from a standpoint of, I think this person's evil and they're doing it to better themselves, which I believe is a projection of how the old powers, the establishment executed. And so they automatically attach that sort of execution to this brand new thing that's coming through. But I think that stuff unwinds as DOGE starts to be like, okay, we've identified $250 billion of expenses. We don't have to get Congress approval because this is all under the purview of the executive branch. For these other $250 or $500 billion, we have to go through Congress, but we'll work with them. And then Congress, let's say they get somehow through a miracle, they get Congress to approve whatever they need to approve. And then the budget comes through, and holy shit, our deficit's down from 2 trillion to 1 trillion or whatever that number is. And then Trump is able to put in a tax cut, and by the time he leaves office, the budget could be balanced because you have a mixture of like your deficit's cut in half, and then you have growth through the economy because of the tax cuts, and you're able to balance the budget.
And your interest rate comes down so that your debt service comes way down, which is a huge, component of the struggle that we're in right now too. And then that one hits consumers directly because as soon as the interest rates come down, then
that's
their car
immediate.
payments come down and their house payments come down if they're on a variable. And a lot of their bills come down if the interest rates come down.
Yeah, what I'm trying to get to is like there is a clear path for the general public that is hesitant about this actually working, for them to actually see it play out in real time in the next couple of years. And I think that's going to have a dramatic shift to how people view government and how people view Trump and how people view Elon. I think it's going to be a very dramatic shift. I could be wrong.